Hi, friends. Thanks for tuning in to the Mental Fitness Unscripted podcast, where our conversation will encourage your healthy living journey. Inspired by our Team Quadzilla coaching motto, healthy living starts between your ears, we talk about mental fitness in ways that challenge us to think about our thinking regarding topics like habits, leadership, exercise, values, marriage, parenting, and faith. Our hope with this podcast is to sharpen you as we sharpen ourselves to be all we were made to be. So let's dive right into the conversation on this episode of Mental Fitness Unscripted.
Yeah, we better find something to talk about.
Well, we had plenty. We just used up 17 minutes of, and we didn't record it. Oh no, I feel bad.
Oh boy.
Man, sorry you missed it. So anything
If you had the VIP subscription, you could get in on some of the pre-recorded stuff.
Our Patreon account, or
Yeah.
the one that doesn't exist, right?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Awful.
All right. Well, anything you're working on?
Yeah, I think how do I want to start this? I had an idea the other day inspired by something I read on LinkedIn. And I don't know if you are familiar with Craig Groeschel, but he is a pastor of a very large church, and his team is responsible for launching the Bible app. And I don't know if you're familiar with that either, but the Bible app for your phone is the most widely downloaded app in the history of apps. There's over 1 billion people who have this on their device.
That's so cool. But you know what? That mirrors the Bible being the most popular book and the most read book. So
yes. Yeah.
Somehow I'm not surprised, but that's incredible. That's really great.
Yeah. So the thing really took off. They didn't know that it would do this. It's always been free. And now it's in the hands of over 1 billion people. And so they had a big celebration about that recently. But anyway, Craig Groeschel has a leadership podcast. He leads a large church, so he preaches. He also writes books. So he's a very busy kind of influential thought leader in those types of things from a biblical worldview. And one of the things, yeah, very similar. Yeah, very similar.
Okay.
So one of the things he said recently, I wrote down over here on my whiteboard. I'm trying to do your trick.
It's hard.
It's over here. Yeah. And it says
the opposite hand.
Yeah. It says
it's a good thing we're not
discipline,
arms, right?
He says discipline closes the gap between who I am and who I want to become. Discipline closes the gap between who I am and who I want to become. And that's a little twist on some things that we have discussed here a lot, especially when we talk about identity and purpose and things like that. And I just thought attaching discipline to that was very curious. And we've also talked a lot about how words matter and the definition of words matter. And so I was thinking to myself, well, what does discipline even mean? And so I thought maybe that was something that we could talk about today, because I have an idea about that, but would just want to maybe unpack that statement from Craig Groeschel, and then maybe a bit about what discipline means, what it is or what it isn't, and maybe that can sharpen us a little bit.
I like it. So any more thoughts on discipline?
Well, I guess I would say I was doing some writing about that, and I wanted to break it down very simply for me. Now, this is my opinion. It is not from the dictionary or anything like that. But to me, discipline is a 3-word definition, and I call it systems operating consistently. That's what discipline means to me. And each of those words means something to me. And just very briefly, systems is in contrast to me from goals. So a lot of times we try to tie discipline to a goal. And we have talked in here before about the limitations to goals and how even in Atomic Habits, he suggests that systems are way better than goals because goals are just very outcome oriented, whereas systems are, sustainable through a long period and drive results forever. And so part of discipline to me is having systems in place versus focusing on some end goal or achievement. And then operating to me is kind of the notion of just doing it, making it habit, making it part of lifestyle. And then consistently, of course, is just not quitting. You don't have to start over if you just keep going, and using the compound effect to inconsistency to build upon those first 2 parts, your systems and then your habits, and let discipline more or less take care of itself because you're doing these things. So kind of in a very succinct nutshell, I'm trying to describe that as it means to me right now. And so that's kind of how I've landed with my definition for discipline. What do you think about that? Am I all wet?
No, I think you're on the right track. I would just I'm going to ask a question, and just if you've thought this piece of it with that, your 3-word definition, do that again. It's
Systems operating consistently.
Okay. I like that because that's exactly what discipline is. Yes, but I'm going to ask you this question. Could that run in a mission of revenge? Systems operating consistently.
Explain. I'm not following.
Well, I guess where I'm headed with this is there probably needs to be some guidance on what that system is operating in. Is it good or bad? Does that make
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
does,
Now, yes.
does that make sense? And so
Yeah.
I love your definition, but what are we applying it to? Does that make sense? Because somebody
Yeah.
can have a mission to be revengeful, or tear people down, persecute, or somebody could have that mission, have an operating system that
Yeah.
a system that is operating consistently toward that mission. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I think here we are back. We've got to set standards, values, carry. We've got to
Right.
have all those things in place so that that system is headed the right direction. Does that make?
Yes. Yeah. So
I'm not trying to tear down what you've said.
no.
I'm just saying, that's a great tool, but like any tool, I can use a knife for cutting tomatoes and opening packages, but I can also use a knife for really nefarious things too. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I hadn't thought of it that way, that it could be well, I hadn't thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right that it can certainly be used negatively or positively, and we have to we have to sort that out.
Have to guide that. Yeah.
But my assumption going into that was for positive or healthy things.
But that's who
And
you are too.
yeah,
That reflects who you are.
okay,
Okay.
right. Yeah, so to be very clear then, you've got to have that situated before you determine what way you're heading with your discipline. And I agree 100%. Having those values and standards front of mind when setting that up is mission critical.
Yeah. Hey, your 3 words absolutely encapsulate what discipline is. Okay. But just stepping back and saying, well, it's a knife. Well, that's great, but to what end?
Yeah.
I can use a knife to defend myself, or I can use it for murder.
Yeah, very true.
So, yeah, there you are. Jocko Willink, very popular. You've probably run into him.
I do. I've read some of his stuff.
Yeah, one of his taglines is "Discipline equals freedom."
Yes.
Okay, but here again, to what end? What freedom am I searching for?
Yeah. Even that tagline is entirely counterintuitive.
What?
Because our assumption is that we are free when we do whatever we want, and we're essentially lazy and pursuing only comfort and ease. And so yeah, I mean, it's fantastic.
So if I have the discipline of being comfortable and taking it easy, am I achieving the freedom that I'm looking for?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it comes back to that. I have a Bible verse. It's just screaming in my head right now.
Oh.
We know the truth, and the truth will what?
Set you free. Yeah.
There it is. Okay.
Yep.
We have to operate off of principles of principles, but one of those is truth. Okay. And
yes.
Okay.
I love where you're going with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, even if I make a decision, people are running around going, "Hell, I'm living my truth." Well, man, I have a hard time with that, because
yes.
what you're doing, and I'm not reflecting on the person. It's just that they've hit the easy button, and what they've done is they've abdicated their relationship with something that is lasting. In fact, in some cases, abdication is probably even a bad word. They're rebelling against what is out there for them, for their benefit, but it's hard, and it takes work, and it takes effort, and it will disappoint you, and you've got all these things that make you crazy. A lot of people put it this way: well, I have anxiety. We all do. Okay. We all do. It's living this life of a dichotomy of, if I do this, then I get that. But it's almost counterintuitive. If I love somebody, it's not that I gave away all my love. What I've done is I've exponentially grown my love to include other people. My experience with having children, I look at my child and go, I can't love this person any more than anybody else. And then you think of the prospect of having another one. And when that other one shows up, it's like, how did that happen? But what it is that we just expanded that love. I mean, you and Angie, can you love each other any more than you both love each other? Well, probably not. But then Brandon shows up, and you just did what?
It grows. Yeah.
So it's those things that are lasting and that grow and expand. It's like having faith in something. It's not that you used up your faith. What you did was you expanded your faith.
Mhm.
Okay. And so faith is
Yeah.
a true principle, work. Can I work any harder? Well, yeah, I can. But probably what happens is we include other people and we expand that work, and suddenly, I'll use the example of Jesus Christ. He could do it all himself. I mean, the guy's perfect, right? But what did he do? He included others, taught them leadership. Well, there's another example of something that expands leadership. If I smile at somebody, they smile back, and then they'll smile at somebody, and all of a sudden you've got this expansion
Mm.
of this shared smile that started with one. It's like a fire. How big's a match? I light
Yep.
a match or a candle, it's just that little tiny flame. Well, that can burn down my house. It can
Yeah.
burn down an entire forest. It's expansive. And so, if you look at those principles and you say, okay, I'm going to have discipline in that, it doesn't
Mhm.
it doesn't wipe out your capability. What it does is it expands you. It expands your capability. And yes, it's hard.
Yeah, I love that. It's
My
so true.
my
It's
little nerd.
counterintuitive.
It's
Yeah.
totally counterintuitive. Okay.
Yeah.
I would love a life of ease and comfort, and in fact, I default to that sometimes. We all do.
Mhm.
But watching a television show, uh, they've got it now that it will expand because it'll play the next one without you even doing anything. It'll just play it, and pretty soon you look at your watch and go, "Oh my gosh!" But
Yeah.
but then afterward, how do we feel? Do we feel expanded?
Right.
And
Yeah, if we're paying attention, all of these things that our natural self wants to pursue leaves us empty. And so having standards of truth and principles that are unshakable, reality that is unshakable, and then this notion that, you know, effort and discipline in the form of effort in work and hard things and um, sacrifice and giving and loving and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's hard, but what happens on the other side of that is always way more rewarding than what our natural self would have us to believe. And so forcing ourselves to go through the mental fitness exercise of reframing our mind that way is really hard. And that's why we talk about this all the time,
yeah,
is
no,
because I need it. I need all the
I
reminding I
I
can
do
get.
too. Yeah, I talk badly about watching shows one after the other, but guess what I do on occasion? I find myself there, and after I'm done, it's like, oh, Todd,
Yep.
come on,
Yeah.
you're better than this. Watch one show, enjoy it, and
Hmm.
I don't, I, maybe there's times you just have to binge watch and hold your wife's hand and just really enjoy it. But anyway,
Yeah.
if we're trying to be disciplined, here I'm going to come full circle again and say, well, to what end? What am I trying to
Yeah.
accomplish? Um,
Yeah.
you know,
I have a good example of this very recently where I just recognized that, we're in the season of giving, right? This, between Thanksgiving and the end of the calendar year, everybody has this new spirit of generosity and giving and whatever. And um, we have by our discipline in how we operate as family, to be generous, especially at this time of year. But this year, um, some things have happened, and we've had some different kind of opportunities. And I just said, you know what? Let's see what happens when we level up that generosity just a little bit. And what I'm finding is incredible fulfillment and joy in that giving, whether it's time or money or resources or whatever. And what's more is that I'm finding that when I do that for a good cause or a complete stranger, that's fantastic, right? It feels great. But what I'm finding is that it becomes easier for me to be generous in other areas of my life. I'm, for some reason, more patient with my customers or people that I work with, or I can be more gracious and kind to Brandon or Angie. And it's easier. And I'm like, well, how does that even work? I'm like, this is the blessing of being generous.
It's that expansion.
It expands.
Yeah, it just expands, and it's,
But at the surface, being generous is counterintuitive, right? Because we need to have for ourselves. We need to hold a tight grip and collect all that we can. But when we do that, it's empty and not fulfilling. And so all of this discipline that we're talking about is counterintuitive. And when we manifest it in these positive ways, according to principles that we know are true, man, it's blowing my mind.
it really is mind blowing, and it really is so counterintuitive. If I give it away, I've lost it, right? That's how we think, and
Yeah.
you know that's where we have to walk into faith and say, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. However, I'm going to put this caveat on it. You have to do it in the right heart set, mindset, and
Mm-hmm.
heart set. Okay, you have to do. If you expect it back, you may be really disappointed. Okay,
Yes.
you know, I can give it away, but if I'm grudgingly giving it away, I it talks about it in the Bible. It's very clear.
It's all in there.
It's all in there. The first self-help book. But if you give it grudgingly, you're going to get your reward with the grudge. Okay. If you'll just take that walk into the darkness with of faith, just not knowing where you're going with it, and
Yeah.
give it away totally, not with a string attached, not with some implied expectation. Just give it away. You will find
Yes.
that expansion comes back to you manyfold.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And what's funny is we forget.
Yeah.
When we get into this mode.
Yes. That's why it's so good that we even just spit it out, because it
Well,
encourages my own soul to spit it out.
exactly. So, no, this has been good. By the way, we got the 10-minute warning 3 minutes ago. So,
Okay. All right. Yeah. So
there you go.
let's see. Circling back, we started with this idea about discipline and closing the gap. I've said for a long time that I recognize that there's this enormous chasm between what I know and how I actually live. And how do I close this gap when the older I get and the more life experience I have, and hopefully the wisdom that I gain from all of that, it feels like I'm just more aware of how big this gap is. And one idea that can help me to close that gap is this idea of discipline. It is not the final answer. It is part of an answer, I think, to help us close that gap. Really, the only way that that gap gets closed is Jesus. You've probably seen the image of this chasm in the cross that gets set in the middle of it, because he's the one that bridges the ultimate gap between our futile life headed to destruction apart from God and being reconciled entirely to God. That is Christ. So that is the answer. But for today, helping me to close that gap entails this idea of discipline, which is entirely counterintuitive. And so I just thought that was worth sharing. And if for no other reason than for my own edification, because when I spit it out, it sticks with me a little better.
Well, we've always said that the ones that need this podcast the most are us. So
Yeah, exactly.
I'm first in line. So no,
Yeah.
what's funny is we need more discipline of being disciplined.
Mm. Yeah.
But there again, to what end? And if I can become a better person, that's great. But what I need to do is I need to help others become better, and by doing
Mhm.
so, it's not a judgment. It's not a. It it truly builds me if I can help others
Yes.
become better.
Yeah.
There again, you got to have the right heart set and mindset with that. So
Right.
anyway,
Exactly.
I'm totally selfish. I want to be a better person.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, like I started with the Craig Groeschel quote. Another thing that he says every day on his podcast is, or every week, however he does that. He says everybody wins when the leader gets better. And since we are all leaders in our own little sphere of influence, then this is exactly what's happening. When we get better, those around us can be better too, so long as, to your point, we're doing this for the right reasons and in a positive way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Got to have the right heart set.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to walk away with a resolve to be better.
Mm.
And put those systems that operate consistently toward being a better
Yes.
person. So
Yes.
I love that. And then
Yeah. Fantastic.
if I stick with true principles, it will set me free. It will
Yeah.
equal freedom. Discipline will equal freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. Let us not forget that there is truth.
Absolutely.
And there are principles that are unchanging, and that needs to be where we start. We can't just be disciplined in whatever foolish thing that we come up with. It has to be based on something solid.
Well, and I here again, I think the test of that is does it expand
Mm.
or does it fall flat?
Yeah. Yeah. Or in another way, does it align with what we see in Scripture? Because that essentially is the standard, right?
First self-help book.
Yep.
Written by the one that knows all.
Yes. Yes.
Good stuff. All
All
right.
right.
Well, have a great weekend, would you?
Yeah. You too.
Thanks for the discussion. It prompted me to make some changes.
All right.
Yeah, we ought to talk about, words and definitions. What I find is when I use the word repentance or to repent,
Mm-hmm.
we ought to talk about that one sometime. That's
Yeah, that's a great word. That is a great word.
People really take that the wrong way, I think.
Yes.
Totally the wrong way. And
yes, I am writing that down.
I think
We'll tackle that.
I think
soon.
the definition's been skewed.
Yeah. All right, sir. Good talk. Thanks for the conversation today.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Mental Fitness Unscripted podcast. Now go take some action, because we know that information alone doesn't change you, but taking even the smallest action in the right direction does. Also, subscribe and comment so more people can find the podcast and be encouraged. If you're ready to take your mental fitness to the next level and you'd like more support, check out teamquadzilla.com for our resources that will help you accelerate your journey. Until next time, remember, healthy living starts between your ears.